Our 3 Cents is a podcast series where myself and two of my very best gaming chums have been counting down our top 100 favourite video games of all time. Our lists are as eclectic as they come, but there are of course some games that will inevitably feature on all three of our lists. When this glorious moment of unification happens, we will produce one of these videos where we combine all three of our contributions from the podcast for a game that has officially been our 3 Cents approved.
You set the precedent with your first PC game on the list. Chris continued that precedent with the second PC game, not only on the list, but of the night. So here I am to continue that theme for the night, kind of.
Oh, hello.
Because this game that I've picked is a cross-platform release, which I first played on the PC.
Oh.
No way.
Yeah. When I was younger, the computer that we had in our house, it was functional rather than decadent. So it was never up to spec for any of the games that were coming out. So I used to make do with many demo discs from Computer and Video Games magazine, PC Zone, PC Gamer. So I've got a whole load of PC games which I've played about 15 minutes of, and this is probably one of the few that has really stuck in my mind. I enjoyed it so much that I bought it on the N64 when it came out.
This was like how Stars in Their Eyes used to go, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Tonight, Matthew,
I'm 8 years old.
The Jackson 5.
The Jackson 5! When I first started to play the demo version, aside from, the story modes, I'm playing multiplayer mode by myself, as I was wont to do in those days, because everybody who I was friends with was into sports or didn't like me. So
these are always these little tragic asides, aren't they?
If you can, please give £2 a month to the Minty's Friends Association. Every year, a Minty goes lonely.
And what I used to do is I used to gather as many of the characters around an oil drum as I could, and then I would blow it up and see how far it rocketed them across the landscape. Just coated in petrol, napalm, screaming as they fell into the sea and drowned and all that.
Yeah, I know what it is.
So this is what I used to do maybe 10, 15 times every Saturday morning until Christmas. I think it was Christmas 1998 when I got the cartridge version of this game. It opened up a whole new world of game modes. There was training modes that you could get medals in, which obviously had a lot of replayability because I would always go for gold.
That was hosted by Matthew Kelly's brother, Henry Kelly, Going for Gold.
Is Henry Kelly a real person?
Yeah, it's Matthew Kelly's brother who used to host a programme called Going for Gold.
Really?
Yeah, I remember Going for Gold.
Yeah.
Strange aside, I was the crap version of a child prodigy growing up, and I was obsessed with daytime game shows. So I loved Going for Gold, the one that Michael Barrymore hosted.
Who's Dead in My Pool?
It's like Blind Date, but with a darker twist.
It's like Through the Keyhole. Who's dead in my pool?
Through the pool filter. This game is Worms Armageddon.
Oh! Oh, of course!
I can't really say that much more about it than what I have said. I really enjoyed it as a child growing up. The only reason it's not higher is because I played the demo version so much on the PC. When it came to playing the N64 version, the very, very subtle and varied character animations, which I've become accustomed to, were gone.
Oh.
But there was one animation which will always stick in my head. If you were like me, you would just... you wouldn't even play the game. You just look at your worms for hours on end and watch them do all the things that they do. Like maybe one would pick up a piece of soil from the ground and eat it.
I enjoyed that one.
Look to the left, look to the right, but just with his eyes.
Yeah.
Just with his eyes.
Sneaky eyes.
And there was one which I Yes, you've just mimed it to me, and that is exactly the one.
Yes!
It's where the worm would close its eyes and its eyebrows would come down.
It would pull its eyebrows down to make a little moustache and do a wiggle with it.
That's a good one, but it's second best to the one that I liked. So the one that I really liked was where it would just close its eyes and it would do this big shit-eating grin, but its eyebrows were its eyes, and it just looks really funny.
I don't remember that one.
I can't recall this either. And I played a lot of this game.
Worms Armageddon, very strong Worms game.
Incredibly strong. I think it is a Worms game. It is the best Worms game.
I also agree.
It's definitely a Worms game.
Maybe that's another game that we should play together.
Yeah. Let's set that up on the big
Ooh,
screen.
yeah.
Thank you very much for that. Minty, Worms Armageddon. Classic game. One that is much loved, certainly by this host. Moving on to the Ian rankings. Little literary reference there. This week we are starting with my game. My 88th favourite video game of all time is... This is our first repeat entry.
Yes. I'm really excited. I'm genuinely really excited.
I'm just going to jump straight in. It's Worms Armageddon.
Whoa, that was
Here
one of
we
my
go.
games.
Yes, it was, Minty.
Hey.
And-
Let's hear what you've got to say about it.
It was really, really great hearing your memories of Worms Armageddon, and it made me realise how different an experience I had with it. Whereas you had predominantly played it on the N64, I purely had it on the PC. It was my first foray into quite a few things. Not only did I absolutely love the game and class myself as a bit of a ninja rope expert.
Oh, yeah.
You were. I remember you whipping around the maps quick style.
You pull in the rope really, really short, so you get a real rapid sort of rotation going
Yeah.
on, let go, and fling yourself over the other side of the map before shooting off another ninja rope to control your fall.
Shinobi Dun, they used to call him.
That is what they used to call me.
Yeah.
But it also was the first time that I ever got anywhere near involved in modding a game. I definitely spent a lot more time using this third-party piece of software called The Fiddler to adapt and create my own weapons with Worms Armageddon. And I believe that me and you did this from time to time, Chris, as well.
We did, yeah.
You could do some sensible things, and you could sort of import your own graphics, so you could make any type of weapon you wanted. If you wanted to do like a Coke can bomb or something, you could import a little icon of a Coke can and give it the properties of a grenade, and it would spill hot cola everywhere. Or you could do what we did, which is basically try and make the most ridiculously overpowered weapon as you could, like a homing concrete donkey. I think we also did some sort of like Salvation Army bazooka where you just bazooka a granny at someone and it would blow up into a load of bananas, because that's hilarious.
I remember having some like airstrike of concrete donkeys or along those lines.
Yeah, which would obviously just destroy the entire map. Well, it was hilarious.
It was, but things like that, like total excess, it still makes me laugh. Like that sort of like it doesn't. You don't grow out of that. It's like fart jokes.
Yeah.
They're funny forever.
And speaking of fart jokes, I remember one of the things I used to do, because there was the skunk weapon that
Yes.
would chuck out poisonous gas from its butt. When I realised that you could give that property to any weapon, I just have a herd of farting sheep, or gassy mad cow, farting carpets. An extraordinary amount of fun. And thinking about it over the last week, I think that was probably where my interest in making my own games kind of came from. That then led into games that me and you used to make, Chris, with the Games Factory. Yeah. Once you realised what was possible outside of the sort of cast iron laws of a game that you're playing, and you realised those rules could be bent, that was incredibly exciting to me. Just importing my own graphics so that I could do a little caricature of my French teacher's face on a bomb from Worms. I realised then, actually, if I got some software like I did with the Games Factory, I could make an entire game based around caricatures of my teachers, or I think we managed to get hold of the graphics of all of the school photos somehow.
We did, yeah, in like really compressed colour and resolution. But we did have a thumbnail of every student at school.
And we did some sort of like point-blank Virtua Cop style shoot-'em-up game with people coming out of windows and stuff. And we made a lot of very, very silly games that were mostly built around the central themes of justice, purity, and lampooning bespectacled French teachers. I think I can trace that back. The genesis of that interest came back to The Fiddler and Worms Armageddon. It was also the first time I played a game online, I remembered. Not that that has much significance, because I remember trying to play against you, Chris. Obviously, this was in the days of dial-up. A phone call would come in halfway through a ninja rope, and my parents heard me take the Lord's name in vain for the first time. Obviously, since then, I've mined whole new levels of blasphemy with other games. So there we have it. My 88th favourite game is Worms Armageddon. Thank you, Minty, for having brought it up, first of all, because it allowed me to really think about why the game was important to me personally, and allowed me to sort of dig up some of these old memories that I may not have done if this was the first mention of the game.
If this is how we're going to handle repeats from now on, I'm really excited to hear what everybody else has to say about everything that I like.
Okay, my number 44 is a game that I know you both enjoy because it's already featured on both of your lists.
Interesting. Yes.
Now, to date, only Fantasy Life has landed as a top 100 title for all of us up until present day.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually a little bit odd that this is a game that now finds itself with the lofty title of being R3 approved. But, you know, there's no accounting for taste. It's Team 17's Worms Armageddon.
Oh, wow.
Oh, how about that?
How about
great.
that? I played Worms, and then I played Worms 2, the original two games, on a friend's PC back when I was at primary school, like going way, way back. And I really enjoyed like the turn-based artillery strategy of each match. I really loved the over-the-top weapons. I love the ability, as simple as it sounds, just to change the names of each of your worms.
So much
That
fun.
was like a huge thing for me as a kid, to be able to customise what I was playing.
Absolutely. First thing I ever did in any Worms game I ever got was create a team made up of the members of Genesis.
As I got a little bit older, I didn't have a home computer for a number of years, so I played the execrable port of the original game on the Game Boy.
Oh, wow.
That was very poor.
Yeah.
I played a not too bad port on the original Mega Drive of the original Worms. I played a little bit of the port that was on the Sega Saturn, which a friend had.
Yeah, I had that.
But it wasn't until I got my own home computer when I was at secondary school then, a couple of years on, or at least I should say I had access to the family computer, really, but that I was able to actually play games and Worms Armageddon. For me, I think Worms Armageddon is the highest of high watermarks for the series as a whole.
Yeah.
I mean, over the years, I think the Worms franchise has become a little bit confused. And after Armageddon, we had Worms World Party, which was largely just an expansion, really, to Armageddon rather than its own game. But it was okay, that was decent. We then had three whole terrible Worms 3D games.
Yeah.
that just missed the mark so completely for me. Like, maybe some people really enjoyed them, but it lost all of the joy I got out of playing Armageddon. Then since then, we've had about 10 almost annualised releases in the modern kind of rebooted 2D franchise,
Yeah.
which started back with Open Warfare in 2006. And some of them are okay, some of them are not too bad. And the most recent game, Worms WMD, which I think you mentioned at some point, Jonathan, getting it on the eShop,
Yeah.
is not bad at all. It's pretty good, but it's not Armageddon for me. But for me, like, Armageddon had just the right amount of customization. It had the right amount of single-player scripted missions as well as score attack content alongside the game's kind of skirmish mode. Because honestly, things like, if you remember the Super Sheep Racing, just as a little side mode.
Oh, yeah.
I probably played that for 30 hours of my time with the game. And like, all you do is you release a sheep, you launch it into the air, and you use the little cursor keys to essentially just drive it around and collect crates under a time limit.
Everybody super sheepy racing.
It's basically just an arcade style score chaser, yet it defined a huge amount of what I really liked about Armageddon. It also, I think it has the right amount of weapons to allow players to maintain like a working knowledge of what to use in a given situation, as well as sort of how to improvise if you don't have access to certain tools that you would want. So to this point, I think Team 17 had almost been goaded to just add and add and add each game. But Armageddon, I think, is where they could have stopped. Like, I know they've changed things over the years, they've added things in, they've taken them out, but the whole kind of like toolkit that was available in Armageddon, I think, really was the best example of being able to juggle like the tactical use of weaponry against like all of them having sort of an inherent sense of humour as well, I guess, that I think Worms does really well. So Armageddon gets the balance just right between utility, like something that can actually be used and is useful, and also kind of the jocularity that it's still got a joke to it. So you've got things like the concrete donkey, you've got the holy hand grenade, you've got the old woman. All these kind of different weapons will make you laugh, but they're also useful because they can be used sensibly to sort of turn the tide of battle, and it's like a special move to hide up your sleeve for the opportune moment. Some other bits of Worms Armageddon esoterica. It was the first game I bought for the PC that didn't work when I tried to install it. So I remember trying to return it to the store and was told there would be no refund because it was a PC game that I could have taken home and copied, as 12-year-olds are wont to do at that age. And that led me on kind of a mission to then understand computer drivers and DLLs and other sort of PC nonsense that pushed me further to become primarily a console gamer, but also stimulated like this weird interest that I do still have in software troubleshooting. Like recently, to do this video series that I mentioned, I've put together like a PC to do some editing, and you always run into weird issues where it's like the RAM isn't being recognised or some software isn't booting like it should. And once I get stuck on that kind of trail, I can't get out, and that goes back to basically wanting to get Worms Armageddon to work when I was a kid. Like, I remember at the time proudly going back to Dixon's like a week or so after I'd fixed the issue and speaking to a bemused, totally uninterested salesperson about my achievements. Like, the guy could not give a fuck. He was not interested at all.
I did it! I bloody did it! You all doubted me! All of you!
Yeah.
All of you!
Yeah.
Now he's
I just felt it was important to go back and let them know that I'd done their job for them. And then, if any other customers had issues with the game, there was the solution. That's what you need to do. Yeah, it was really good. And it was also, from memory, the first game I played online I can't think of one before that.
Yeah.
Via the Wormsnet online servers. It utilised like a very basic ranking system. Essentially, like if you beat a player ranked higher than you would raise your title and your little flag, and losing may drop your ranking down. And I wasn't even particularly good at the game. I was pretty shocking at it, to be honest. But I still played nightly for months in an effort to attempt to climb up these leaderboards. And I remember thinking I was like the best in the world, eking out wins with distant shotgun shots or ninja rope grenades, only to then lose a game later to someone who could read the wind with such accuracy that my whole team were forced to just tunnel into the ground to shield themselves from like a bazooka barrage. So it was what it was. And it's probably a reason that I don't play many online games these days, because as much as I might enjoy them, I'm pretty shit at most games. Worms Armageddon, I think, is a great game, and one that, crucially for here, is one that we are all now on record as having loved.
Yeah.
So yeah, Worms Armageddon is my 44th favourite video game.
Fantastic. I'm pretty sure that I played online with you.
I think you did.
And that was an very early moment in terms of my online gaming activity, and one that, like you, I never really kind of pursued any further than I absolutely had to.
Yeah.
You guys, if you've got a few quid spare, why don't you pick up Worms WMD on the eShop, and then we can play some Worms together.
Yeah, we'll see how we get on with that.
Oh yeah,
that'd be really fun. Fantastic. Well, I look forward to hopefully having some worm on worm action with you fine folk.